So in the last class, or the first class of database management system, we discussed about course objective, course outcome, and scope of the course of DBMS. We have discussed. We have defined several course objectives, course outcomes, and we have also discussed about the what is the scope of this subject. Then after we have discussed about the definition of database management system. We start from the data. What is data? So can you unmute your mic and speak? What is the data? Anybody? Okay, so the data is nothing but a fact or figure or a statistics which actually have no meaning. Okay, like we have discussed one number, one or 19 or some tax like ABC. This the data has no meaning until it associated with some other data. Okay, so then after we have discussed about the record. Record is nothing but a collection of related data items. Okay, like this number 1 ABC 19, if we collected in some particular manner, then we it constitute a information like ABC is the student's name, 1 is its roll number, and 19 is the age of this student. Okay, then we have discussed about the tables or relation of table. We can define as it's a collection of related records. Okay, in a table we have some structure, and in this table there is many records. Okay, so record or sorry, table or relation we can define as the collection of related records. Always suppose we have created a student table, so in this student table always there will be information about student only. Yes, related records, record of students only. Then we have discussed about the database. Database is a collection of related tables or relation. Relation and table are the same thing. Okay. So we have discussed about the database. Database is a collection of related related tables and relation. Then we have discussed about the management. What is the management system? Management system is nothing but some set of rules and procedure which follow to organize this data and retrieve this data from the database management. Sorry, database from the database. Okay, all these things we have discussed. Then after we write a very good definition about the database management system. So how we can define the DBMS? DBMS is the collection of interrelated data and set of program to access those data. And DBMS contain information about a particular enterprise, particular organization, particular UOT. Okay, always when we talk about the database, it's always associate with some enterprise. Okay, like we are talking about the database DBMS about bank or reservation system or library. Always when we talk about the DBMS, it must be associate with some enterprise. Okay, DBMS provide an environment that must be convenient and efficient to use. Always we have to make sure that our DMS should be provide information in convenient and efficient way. Okay. All this definition we have discussed, and these are some application areas where we use a DBMS, like in banking, airlines, universities, sales, manufacturing, human resources, and many other application areas are also. Okay. So in today's class, we will discuss about the file system. Okay, before DBMS, there's a file system. Okay, so if you anybody know about the file system, they can unmute your mic and speak. What is a file system? If you participate in class, it will be good for your class. Otherwise, always I speak and you listen is not the right way to learn.
सर फाइल सिस्टम में जो डेटा होता है वो जैसे हार्डवेयर के अंदर वो लोकल फाइल्स होती है वहाँ पे स्टोर होते हैं और उसको एक्सेस करने के लिए अलग से प्रोग्राम्स बनाए जाते हैं।
गुड अविनाश, गुड। अविनाश का जो आंसर है एकदम करेक्ट है कि फाइल सिस्टम जो होता है उसमें हम लोग का जो डेटा है वो स्पेशल हार्डवेयर से एसोसिएट होगा, या फिर हम फाइल अलग स्टोर करते हैं, उसको एक्सेस करने के प्रोग्राम अलग स्टोर करते हैं। इस टाइप का जो सिस्टम हुआ करता था पहले, उसको फाइल सिस्टम बोलते थे। गुड। तो हम बिफोर डीबीएमएस देयर इज एन फाइल सिस्टम। ओके, सो क्या प्रॉब्लम थी फाइल सिस्टम के साथ, और क्या फिर डीबीएमएस आने के बाद हमने रेक्टिफाई की, इसको प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हुआ, वो हम लोग देखेंगे। ठीक है। The file system stores permanent record in various files, and it's need a different application program to extract records and add records to appropriate files. Okay, so ultimately the meaning is same. We have a file system. In this file system we have a data stored in a file, and there's many applications program is available to extract those records, or even for adding a record we have an application program. For updating those files or the record in file, we have also write a different application program. Okay, so these are the some drawback using file system. The first drawback was for data redundancy and inconsistency. Data redundancy means the same data we have write in many places. Many files have the same data. Okay, so the problem with redundancy is you always have to write the same data for more than one times. Okay. Second, if some change occur on this data, we have to again update this data from at many places. Okay, suppose we want to delete those data, again we have to go to the different places, and then we have to delete those data. Okay, so this is the problem with data redundancy, means the same copy of data is available at more than one place. The second problem is inconsistency. Inconsistency means suppose our data is stored at three different places, and some change occur or updation occur. We have done the update at two places correctly, but the at the third location we have forget, or it's any kind of reason we have not able to do the change. So your data will become inconsistent. मीन्स आपने जो चेंज करना था तीन लोकेशन पे करना था डिफरेंट, बट आपने दो लोकेशन पे तो आपने प्रॉपर कर दिया, बट थर्ड लोकेशन पे आप किसी कारण से नहीं कर पाए, या वो उस जगह पे नहीं हुआ चेंज, तो आपके सिस्टम में इनकंसिस्टेंसी आएगा। सपोज आपकी एज है, आपका 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 रिकॉर्ड स्टोर है आपके डेटाबेस में, आपकी एज है अभी 19 ईयर, नेक्स्ट ईयर आपकी एज होगी 20 ईयर। ओके, आपने डेटाबेस में दो जगह तो अपने स्टोर प्रॉपर्ली चेंज कर दिया, आपकी एज 20 ईयर हो गई, बट थर्ड लोकेशन इसलिए आपको चेंज नहीं हो पाया किसी कारण से, तो कहीं पर आपका डेटाबेस में आपकी एज 19 ईयर है, कहीं 20 ईयर है। तो जो जो डेटाबेस में इनकंसिस्टेंसी, इस टाइप की इनकंसिस्टेंसी क्रिएट हो जाएगी यदि आपने प्रॉपर डेटाबेस को हैंडल नहीं किया, मीन्स चेंज नहीं किया, अपडेट नहीं किया। ठीक है, तो इस टाइप की प्रॉब्लम हमारे फाइल सिस्टम में होती थी, क्योंकि आपको मैनुअली ईच लोकेशन पे जाके डेटाबेस को चेंज करना होता था। ठीक है, तो ड्यू टू दिस डेटा रिडंडेंसी एंड इनकंसिस्टेंसी में ऑकर। द सेकंड प्रॉब्लम इज difficult in accessing the data. Here, we have a huge database, and now I want to access those data. For accessing those data, I have to write some application program to access those data. Okay, you write one application program to access those data for in particular way. Okay, suppose my query is change. सपोज मुझे अभी चाहिए कि मेरे मैं बैंकिंग सिस्टम की बात करूँ, मेरे बैंकिंग सिस्टम में मुझे कुछ कस्टमर्स की डिटेल रिट्रीव करनी है, जिसके लिए मैंने एक एप्लीकेशन प्रोग्राम अपने डेवलपर से बनवा लिया। ठीक है। अब कुछ समय के बाद मुझे कस्टमर्स की डिटेल रिट्रीव करनी है, बट अब मेरी कंडीशन कुछ और है कि ऐसे कस्टमर्स का मुझे मोबाइल नंबर या सपोज एड्रेस चाहिए जिसका अकाउंट में 5,000 से ज़्यादा उसका अकाउंट बैलेंस हो। ठीक है। तो अगेन आई हैव टू राइट अ न्यू एप्लीकेशन प्रोग्राम। ओके। अगेन मुझे डेवलपर पास जाना होगा। मीन्स जो फाइल सिस्टम का जो प्रॉब्लम है, ये प्रॉब्लम है कि उसको हमेशा जब भी आपको कुछ न्यू चीज रिक्वायर्ड होगी, आपको एक एप्लीकेशन प्रोग्राम क्रिएट करना होगा। तो द डिफिकल्टी इन एक्सेसिंग द डेटा। ओके। द थर्ड प्रॉब्लम विद फाइल सिस्टम इज डेटा आइसोलेशन। डेटा आइसोलेशन में क्या होगा, जो आपका डेटा का फॉर्मेट है वो डिफरेंट है। आपका डेटा का फॉर्मेट डिफरेंट है, मीन्स आपने किसी फाइल में अपना डेटा का फॉर्मेट कुछ अलग रखा है, कुछ दूसरी जगह पे अपना डेटा का फॉर्मेट कुछ अलग रखा है, तीसरी का कुछ अलग रखा है। अब आप उसको डेटाबेस को आपको रन करना है, मीन्स एग्जीक्यूट करना है। तो अब क्या प्रॉब्लम होगी, डेटा फॉर्मेट डिफरेंट है, इसलिए आप उसको कंबाइन नहीं कर सकते। आपका डेटा है आइसोलेट है। अब सेम ऑपरेशन दो डिफरेंट डेटा फॉर्मेट्स पे अप्लाई नहीं कर सकते हैं फाइल सिस्टम के केस में। ठीक है। तो एक डेटा आइसोलेशन इज ऑल्सो वन ऑफ द मेजर प्रॉब्लम। द नेक्स्ट प्रॉब्लम इज इंटीग्रिटी प्रॉब्लम्स। आप कुछ इंटीग्रिटीज रूल्स अपने डेटाबेस पे अप्लाई नहीं कर सकते हैं। बहुत सारे इंटीग्रिटी रूल्स अप्लाई करते हैं हम अपने डेटाबेस पे, उसको मोर रिलायबल बनाने के लिए। ठीक है। जैसे कि आपने रूल बना दिया कि इसकी जो एम्प्लॉय की मिनिमम एज 18 ईयर होनी चाहिए, मैक्सिमम एज 65 ईयर होनी चाहिए। यदि वो इस कैटेगरी का तो उसके ये इसके बेनिफिट्स होने चाहिए, या इस कैटेगरी का तो ये बेनिफिट्स होने चाहिए। मींस एन नंबर ऑफ इन इन आपने कंडीशंस अप्लाई कर दी अपने डेटाबेस पे, उसको मोर एक्यूरेट बनाने के लिए डेटा की। तो ये जो कंडीशन हम अप्लाई करते हैं डेटाबेस पे, वो इस फाइल सिस्टम के केस में अप्लाई हम नहीं कर पा रहे थे। ठीक है। तो दीज आर द सम ड्रॉबैक्स ऑफ फाइल सिस्टम। And the next problem with our database file system is atomicity of updates. Suppose we are applying some change, or we are applying some transaction or over our database, and if it's not done completely, so it will be in some instant of time, it must left your data in inconsistent fashion. Suppose in your account you are transferring some fund from one account to another account. Okay. Like uh, your in your account there is a two transaction are simultaneously executing. One is credit 50 rupees, and suppose the second is debiting 100 rupees. One transaction is complete successfully and another is unsuccessfully due to some any reason. So if it is not done properly, it must be a completely uh, what I want to say, it's completely not execute. Or if all two transactions completed successfully, then only it must be considerable. Means what I want to say here is, suppose I want to transfer 100 rupees from one account to account B. ओके। आपने आप कुछ एक अकाउंट से एक दूसरे अकाउंट में आपको 100 रुपीज ट्रांसफर करना है। आपने फर्स्ट क्या करेंगे, अकाउंट जो फर्स्ट अकाउंट जिससे आप ट्रांसफर कर रहे हैं उससे अकाउंट का जितना अकाउंट हम ट्रांसफर कर उतना डेबिट हो डेबिट होगा, देन सेकंड अकाउंट में क्रेडिट होगा। आपके फर्स्ट अकाउंट से डेबिट तो हो गया, बट सेकंड अकाउंट में क्रेडिट नहीं हुआ है। क्या करना होगा आपको, आपका फर्स्ट अकाउंट का तो जो मनी है वो लॉस हो गया। इसके लिए क्या होगा, आपको कुछ लॉक अप्लाई करने होते हैं अपने डेटाबेस में कि ये ट्रांजेक्शन कभी कंप्लीट होगा जब दोनों में जो आपका कंडीशन है वो सेटिस्फाइड हो। मीन्स इसमें डेबिट हो तो इसमें क्रेडिट भी हो। ऐसा नहीं कि इसमें एक में डेबिट हो गया, एक में क्रेडिट नहीं हुआ है। तो इस टाइप के आपके डेटाबेस की एटॉमिसिटी को बनाए रखने के लिए हम एक रूल अप्लाई करते हैं, ऑल और नन मीन्स ऑल ट्रांजेक्शंस कंप्लीटली सक्सेसफुल हो, और कोई भी ट्रांजेक्शन हो ऐसा, ठीक है, दोनों क्रेडिट एंड डेबिट एक साथ होने चाहिए, या कोई क्रेडिट डेबिट दोनों नहीं होना चाहिए, ठीक है। तो फाइल सिस्टम के साथ ऐसी प्रॉब्लम है, ठीक है। तो ये है एटॉमिसिटी ऑफ अपडेट प्रॉब्लम। द नेक्स्ट, आप लोग को समझ में आ रहा है फाइल सिस्टम में क्या प्रॉब्लम्स था? द नेक्स्ट प्रॉब्लम विद फाइल सिस्टम इज concurrent access by multiple user means आपका जब भी कोई ट्रांजेक्शन होता है, मतलब कुछ ऐसे डेटाबेस भी होते हैं जहाँ पर मल्टीपल यूजर सेम डेटाबेस को एक्सेस करते हैं साइमल्टेनियसली, ठीक है। अब इस केस में क्या हो सकता है कि अब जब साइमल्टेनियसली एक्सेस करें तो आपका सिस्टम क्रैश हो सकता है, फर्स्ट प्रॉब्लम। सेकेंड प्रॉब्लम क्या है, जब भी आप साइमल्टेनियसली सेम डेटाबेस को एक्सेस करते हैं तो आपका सिस्टम का डेटाबेस इनकंसिस्टेंसी में भी पहुंच सकता है, ठीक है। कैसे होगा कि टू पर्सन सेम अकाउंट बैलेंस को रीड कर रहे हैं और सम ऑपरेशन अप्लाई करने के बाद राइट कर रहे हैं, तो जब हम लोग सेम टाइम पे कर रहे हैं तो मे बी वो डेटाबेस को इनकंसिस्टेंट फैशन में लेफ्ट कर दें। कैसे? सपोज आपका एक अकाउंट है ए जिसका करंट बैलेंस है 500, एक 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 ट्रांजेक्शन में आप उसको क्रेडिट कर रहे हैं 100 रुपीज से, सेकंड ट्रांजेक्शन में आप उसको डेबिट कर रहे हैं 50 रुपीज से। सेम टाइम में दोनों ने अकाउंट बैलेंस रीड किया 500, वन फर्स्ट वाले ने क्रेडिट किया 100 में 600 अकाउंट बैलेंस राइट कर दिया, सेकंड वाले ने 500 रीड किया, देन 50 रुपीज डेबिट किया, मीन्स उसने क्या क्या राइट किया 450, मीन्स द अल्टीमेट द लास्ट बैलेंस विल बी 450, बट एक्चुअली देयर मस्ट बी ए वन 550 रुपीज। सो इस टाइप के इनकंसिस्टेंसी आपके अकाउंट में क्रिएट हो सकती है यदि उसको प्रॉपरली हमने कंकरेंसी कंट्रोल मैकेनिज्म अप्लाई नहीं किया अपने डेटाबेस पे। The last is security problem always comes with file system. Okay, so these are the some drawback of file system. Oh, and the solution is DBMS. DBMS database system offers solution to all the above problems. The next is level of abstraction. As you know, the database system is a collection of interrelated data and set up programs to allow user to access and modify these data. And this database is a huge database. Okay, so when we talk about the huge database, there is always must be a complexity. Means our database is a very complex database. So to understand these database, we we have some kind of abstraction. Okay, so we have three level of abstraction: physical level abstraction, logical level abstraction, and view level abstraction. Okay, so before I just mention about the abstraction, I just talk about. I want to ask to you what is a abstraction. Vaibhav, Vaibhav,
Yes, yes, sir.
what is abstraction?
सर कोई डेटा की हमें नहीं हो उसको एक्सट्रैक्ट करना।
मीन्स अब्स्ट्रैक्ट करना, पर क्या अब्स्ट्रैक्शन का मीनिंग क्या है?
मैम सर मीनिंग मतलब बाहर मतलब जो हमें चाहिए है उसको लेना जो अपने डेटाबेस से।
हम्म, ठीक है। और किसी को पता है अब्स्ट्रैक्शन का मीनिंग?
सर एब्स्ट्रैक्शन में मतलब कि उसकी डिटेल्ड जो डिटेल्स होती है उसको हाइड कर लेना और उसकी
हम्म,
फंक्शनैलिटी को इनेबल करना, मतलब उसकी फंक्शनैलिटी का यूज करना और विदाउट नोइंग इट्स डिटेल।
गुड, गुड अविनाश। और किसी को आइडिया है अब्स्ट्रैक्शन का? ठीक है। तो जब हम डेटाबेस ऑब्स्ट्रक्शन की बात करेंगे, तो डेटाबेस एक जो हम बताया कि एक यूज डेटाबेस है, इसमें कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी है। ठीक है। तो जो लेवल ऑफ एब्स्ट्रक्शन हम बोलेंगे, इसको थ्री लेवल ऑफ एब्स्ट्रक्शन होता है। फर्स्ट हम फिजिकल लेवल एब्स्ट्रक्शन, फिजिकल लेवल मीन्स फिजिकल की बात कर रहे हैं, मीन्स हमारा जो डेटाबेस है, एक्चुअल हमारा जो डेटाबेस हाँ स्टोर है, मीन्स इट्स मेमोरी, उस मेमोरी में वो कैसे स्टोर है, मीन्स द लोएस्ट लेवल ऑफ सेक्शन है, डिस्क्राइब द हाउ डेटा आर एक्चुअली स्टोर्ड। द फिजिकल लेवल ऑफ सेक्शन कॉम्प्लेक्स लो लेवल डेटा स्ट्रक्चर इन, मीन्स जो हमारा डेटा है, सपोज वी आर स्टोरिंग द रोल नंबर ऑफ स्टूडेंट और नेम ऑफ स्टूडेंट और एज ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स, all these three data has its own data type, like roll number has its type, name has its type, age has its types. Means these data, how they are residing in our database, we abstract these information, and this abstraction of this information is called the physical level abstraction. Okay. The next level is logical level. In the logical level, we describe our data as how this data is related with other data. Means how the roll number is related to name, or name is related to age. Means we have three data: roll number, name, and age. And these three data, how these three data are logically related. Okay. Name is related with age, how this these two data is related, or name is how related with roll number. Means this kind of relation between data, we abstract it. Okay. Means we are not showing all. Suppose in your student table there is a 100 students, and all these hundreds information, we are not showing all these hundred information, we are just showing the abstract view means by just name, age, and roll number. We are hiding the hundreds record, only showing only essential relationship between these three datas. Okay. So this kind of abstraction is we called as logical level abstraction. Okay. And the third level abstraction is called a view level. In this view level abstraction, we hide unessential or unauthorized data with other viewer or user. Okay. In our data, there's a huge amount of information, and this information is not meant or intended for the other every user. Okay. It is or the information we shown to user only, that is useful or required by that user only. Okay. So this kind of abstraction we called a view level abstraction. Okay. So you can understand this level of abstraction by just you used college ERP system. In college ERP, there is a huge amount of student information, faculty information, and other many kind of information related to our college and universities are available. Okay. But what you can see is only the information which is related to you only. Okay. You cannot see the all the information of ERP system. Okay. We are abstracting information from student. Okay. Student cannot see the salaries of each employee. every employee. Okay, student cannot see the other information which is not related to student, and a faculty cannot see all the information of the ERP. Faculty can only see the what the information is actually required by a faculty only. Okay, so ultimately we are hiding the information from the user and showing what the information actually required by the user. Okay, so this kind of abstraction is called a view level abstraction, and this view level abstraction is a dynamic abstraction. We can change actually this view, or the level of abstraction is not stored in our database, but we are dynamically create this kind of abstraction to user. Is it clear what I want to say? Our data, or database system has three level architecture. Okay, in the first level there is a physical level called physical level. In the physical level we just show how our data is actually stored in our devices or storage devices. In the second level, or the logical level, we represent the relationship between these data, logically how these data are related. In the third level we create the views from this logical view. Okay, the next if it the next let's start the next instance and schemas. Instance, you can define, or you can say at particular moment what is the status or of your database. What I want to say again here is that our data is particular. We talking, suppose we are talking about the particular database of a bank. Okay, so at a particular moment, what is the status of your database is called instance. Again, your database state is changed every time. In bank, there is a number of transactions are running. Okay, each time there is some kind of transaction is happening in your banking database, but at particular moment, what is the status of your database is called the instance of that database. Okay, so uh, the database change over time as information is inserted or deleted, and the collection of information is stored in the database at a particular moment is called an instance of the database. Okay, so the instance means at particular time what is the state of database. And the second term is schema. Let's try to understand the schema keyword, which is very important keyword here in the database system. You will find this keyword for the entire subject till the last unit. Schema is nothing but a structure, particular structure of your database. How you give a particular structure to our database, how your database is structured. Means structured means how you establish the relationship between data. It's called the schema. So the overall design of the database is called the database schema. Okay. Is it clear? Is it clear to all of you? What is schema and what is instance? Okay, so schema, in the schema, if you remember, we have discussed three level of abstraction: logical level, physical level, logical level, and view level. So in all three level, there is some design or structure of database. Some physical level, there is some design of database. At logical level, there is some design of database. At view level, there is some design of database. So this design of database at particular level is called that schema of that level. Like at the physical level or physical schema at the physical level, how your database design is. At logical level, how your logical schema is defined, means how this data is related to other data. Okay, at view level, how you plot or dynamically created this table for the particular user. Is it clear? At any time you can stop me and ask me any question or any doubt. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Okay, what is schema, what is instance, what is the level of abstraction, and all these things you can ask me at any time. Okay, the next is data models. Again, the data model is defined, or we can say data model is a structure of database. Is the data model, means how you are giving a particular structure to your database is a data model. So in this way, we have four different data models. Okay, so the data model can be classified in four different data models. Okay, so data models is nothing but how you are giving a particular structure to your database is a data model. Okay, so we have four different data models. First is relational model, relational data model. Second is entity data model. Entity relationship data model. Third is object based data model. And the fourth is semi structured data model. These are the four important data models. Okay, and data model is nothing but how you are giving the structure to your database. For when we create or a data model for the database, we have some what we call the tools for describing. Okay, first what we need is data, and how these data are related, means what the relationship between these data, and we apply some semantics and constraints over this data. Okay, so let's see all these four data model one by one. The first, let's see the entity relationship model. In short, we called it as a ER data model, entity relationship data model. In this data model, we have some entity, like here as you can see, customer and account. In rectangle box, what you are see is called entity. Customer is one entity in your database, and account is a one entity in your database. And how these two entities are related, why the this relationship in this Rambos you are saying is depositor. So customer is a depositor in account. So this is the relationship between these two entities. Okay. So, so that's why we call this is an entity relationship data model. This is a logical data model which represent your database in logical way to just show or to show to end user how your data are related. Okay, it's not actually physically implemented data model, it's a logical data model which just shows the relationship between our data. Okay, and this oval shape you are seeing is called the attributes of that entities. We will discuss this data model in detail in some next classes. Okay, so the next data model is a relational data model. In a relational data model, our data is stored in the form of some structured table. In relational data model, our data stored in some structured table. In the structured, there's some column. This column shows the property of that data like name, age, roll number. These are the attribute or property of that data. And in the row, we store the record or information of that data. Okay, so you can see here we have one table. This table has some structure. There is enough 5 columns: customer ID, customer name, customer street, customer city, and account number. These are the 5 attributes or property of that data, and in this table there is a 5 record of that table. And okay, so in this format we store the information in relational data model. Okay, in the form of table, row and columns. This is some sample relational database. You can see there's 3 different table, and each table has its own structure. The first table name is customer table. In this customer table, it is stored the information of customer. The second table B, is account table. It is stored the account number and the account balance. And third table is depositor table, the customer ID and the account number. So in this format, we store the data is called the relational data model. Relational data model is nothing but it stored the data in form of table. The next is programming languages in database. Basically, in database, there's 2 programming language: data definition language and data manipulation language. These two programming languages is not a 2 different programming language, but it's a part of one programming language which work in 2 different way. Not 2 different way, but it's in own way. Okay, so DDL means data definition language. Data definition language specify the structure of your database, how you define the schema of your data. Again, I'm just repeating. Data definition language is to specify the database schema. Schema is, if you remember, schema is nothing but a structure of your database. Okay? So ultimately, data definition language is specifying the structure of your data. And the second language, data manipulation language, is to express database queries and updation. How you can retrieve the data from the database, or how you update or change or manipulate the data information to your database. Okay. uh, I'm just repeating, data definition language and data manipulation language are not two separate languages. Okay, instead they are simply form part of a single database language. Okay, like if you remember, sorry, not remembered, if you heard a language SQL, structured query language. Structured query language is both data definition language as well as its data manipulation language. It's not a two different language, okay, but it's also define your database means DDL, and it's also retrieve data from the database. Okay, so let's start DDL specification notation for defining the database schema. Like this, like this line of code, you can create a table. I'm not. We will discuss this how we can create a table, like a command create table. Account is the table name which we are going to create, and the account number and the balance are the attribute, the column name, and these are the data type of this column name. And using this uh, command, we can create a simple account table. Okay, so this is the simple how we can create a table. All these things we will discuss in upcoming classes, so don't worry. Data manipulation language, language for accessing and manipulating the data organized by the appropriate data model. Okay. And these are the procedural and non-procedural. Procedural means how to get those data, and non-procedural means required without specifying how to get those data. We just apply the or give the command. It will give you the result. There is no need to how we can get those data. These are the some DDL and DML, procedural and non-procedural. Both are the procedural and non-procedural. Okay. So in the next class we will discuss all other this SQL and what. So if you have any doubt, you can ask. And today in today's class, if you have any doubt, you can ask. Okay. If you do not have any doubt, you can write your attendance in chat box. Write A for apple in chat box. And if you do not have any doubt, you can leave the class.